Now that Disney's 2025 version of Snow White is finally out, you might be wondering about the differences between it and the 1937 version on which it's based. Today, we'll take a look at the biggest changes. First up, the most surprising addition that seemingly added nothing to the narrative is the use of the dwarves' magic powers. What magic powers, you ask? Exactly. In the original film, the dwarves are simply miners of precious gems. But in this iteration, they now have some sort of magic power that lights up all of the prime rocks in the mine. This is seemingly just a hand-waving solution to having glowing gems, like in the cartoon, wherein no such power exists. The name Snow White is also given a bit of a reworking, this time to accommodate modern sensibilities and seemingly justify the casting of Rachel Zegler. In the original, Snow White is so called because of her pale complexion, but here it's because she was born in and survived a snowstorm. One of the big changes is in the prince character, who doesn't technically exist in the 2025 version. Instead, we get Jonathan, the leader of a group of bandits who steal in the name of the king, who went missing during an ill-defined war with another kingdom. Jonathan has no royal heritage that we know of. Instead, he's portrayed as a fearless leader of his group of Newells and is captured while trying to steal potatoes from the queen. He's tied to the front gates and saved by Snow White. And it's in this moment that the first inkling of a relationship between the two crops up. It's also the moment that changes the magic mirror's mind, deciding that, based on this act of selflessness, Snow White is the fairest of them all. Later on, Jonathan takes an arrow for Snow White, and his life is saved by Doc, who is not a medical doctor but manages to save Jonathan anyway. After this happens, Snow White and Jonathan seem to fall in love, and Jonathan leaves for 2 days to try and keep the Queen's guards off Snow White's trail, but he's captured. This leads to Snow White being left alone and found by the Queen in her evil hag form, which of course ends in the famous poison apple moment. Like in the original, Jonathan winds up making it to Snow White after escaping the Queen a second time and kisses her, awakening her from the apple spell. From there, he, along with the dwarves and the huntsman, helps Snow White to overthrow the evil queen. The queen is also expanded on and even given 2 whole songs. The most important change is in her demise. In the original, she's killed by falling off a cliff while being chased by the dwarves. But here, she essentially defeats herself by breaking the magic mirror, an action which turns her to dust and sucks her up into the mirror itself. It's a weird moment that comes out of nowhere. These are the biggest changes to Snow White, although there are more to pick apart. Are there any that we missed? Let us know in the comments, and thank you for watching Movie Recap Pros.